Hello again. It's actually still yesterday to Pastor John and myself. Still in our use of this time where we have to be apart, and in our use of this time to grow spiritually together and relationally, using the acronym fasting as a tool here, I want to come back and add to what I began about the T emphasis, that is, thanking God for his perfect provision. One of our truest needs, again, we find our needs only in Scripture, our truest needs. You know, the world presents the opposite kinds of things that are temporary and temporal and have to do with our pride and ego, where God shows our truest needs. One of our truest needs is the practice of connection and interdependence as believers, fellowship and sharing. The opposite of self-isolating and independence as believers. Hebrews 10:23-25 reads, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. Let us not give up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." Now, in that original context, that was written to Jewish believers or professing Jewish believers who were kind of defecting and going back. That's a familiar passage that we often use to show that being part of the church and coming and attending is God's idea. It's not just a matter of tradition or our taste. So when we can, by all means, let's get together physically too. But looking closely at this passage, looking at the intent, is it really primarily about physical presence and gathering or numbers? Don't many non-Bible teaching churches gather in numbers and have physical presence? Haven't we been here before and yet come and gone and not felt like we really had a connecting conversation? Can it be, haven't we noticed that sometimes it's the conversation here or there, the level of sharing, how are you doing, and you share, and you know what to pray for each other, that makes all the difference. The intent of this passage is much more than physical. It's the connecting, the interdepending, the fellowship, the true sharing together. So, just to give an example, when my mom was on vacation during their older years, she was on vacation, she fell, she broke her hip. My oldest younger sister was there. My mom ended up not going back to Cincinnati to be with Dad, but having hospital care and then, pretty close to it in a nursing home. And my mom and Dad ended up getting separated, not because they wanted to be, for 3 years. Dad had attended business down in Cincinnati with a house and things, and Mom had medical stuff and care here with my sister being right there all the time. Just 5 minutes away. So during that time, it was interesting, my dad and my mom actually communicated more frequently, longer, and more deeply on the phone and in other ways than they had when they lived together. It was really a beautiful thing to see and understand and know about. And thanks to God's provision of technology before this time, for this time, that's happening right now. A lot of unbelievers are coming to Christ through believers. A lot of believers are sharing more. One example is the women's study on Adorned continues. The groups are divided up somewhat, but the processing and the sharing and the level of sharing that is continuing, I believe, is actually deepening. And I'm so excited about this. So God provided the means, the telephones, the ability to text, Facebook, and things like this before and for this time. So to see this, to think of that aspect alone, and thank God for his perfect provision. A little more on this later. God bless and keep you.